Crypto could actually save the US dollar. I know it's crazy, but hear me out. And look, it's such an interesting time to be in crypto. And let me tell you why. For as long as crypto has been around, the Washington, D.C. power brokers, they've just been wringing their hands. And of course, cautioning anyone willing to listen. Crypto's a big scam. We're going to lose all your money. Bitcoin's evil and destroying the climate. Stay away. And why? Well, they've offered all sorts of reasons over the year. It's been a mess. Money laundering, climate change, hurting puppies. I don't know. Look, here's one from Hillary Clinton at Bloomberg's New Economy Forum 2 years ago. Have a listen.
And then one more area that I hope nation states start paying greater attention to is the rise of cryptocurrency. What looks like a very interesting and somewhat exotic effort to literally mine new coins in order to trade with them has the potential for undermining currencies, for undermining the role of the dollar as the reserve currency, for destabilizing nations, perhaps starting with small ones, but going much larger.
So there you have it. Clinton, who really is the epitome of the American deep state, warns that crypto has the potential to undermine the US dollar. And of course, the American empire more broadly. Now, this particular line of attack has gained some traction over the past few years, and it's a guarantee that you haven't heard the end of it, okay? They're still threatened by it. But what's interesting, and stick with me, this is a fascinating theory, is that another prominent politician just dropped an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal arguing the exact opposite. Something I've been saying for a long time. That's right. Former Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, actually penned an article on June 14th titled "Crypto Could Stave Off a U.S. Debt Crisis." How about that? He lays out a crypto strategy that could actually support the dollar and the good old US of A. So in today's video, let's actually break down exactly what Paul Ryan had to say and then ask ourselves if there's actually any merit to what he's saying here. Let's start with the problem, and that's America's gargantuan national debt and the looming debt crisis and the interest payments on that gargantuan debt. Paul Ryan states that the most likely way a debt crisis gets triggered is from a failed treasury auction, aka there's no buyers for U.S. debt. You see, here's the dirty little secret that no one teaches you in school. The reason the U.S. government is able to actually continue going into infinite debt but still keep the lights on is because the rest of the world keeps giving America loans. It keeps buying its bonds. And the world issues these loans by purchasing U.S. Treasury bonds. So as long as this continues, the U.S. government can keep, well, probably anyway, maintaining the status quo. But for how much longer? $35 trillion in debt? Come on. At some point, people are going to start thinking, maybe these guys can't repay. But if U.S. Treasury demand dries up, the chickens, they come home to roost, okay? The fat lady sings, all that kind of stuff. And that's what Ryan means by a failed treasury auction. The scenario would be that the Treasury Department holds a bond auction to raise funds for financing the freaking government. They need $1.4 trillion extra a year, by the way. And look, this happens all the time. They're always doing bond sales. Except under Ryan's scenario, not enough buyers come out for the sale. And we're seeing China not buying anymore. We're seeing Russia not buying anymore. U.S. Treasury bonds are becoming increasingly less popular. So the government in that situation is left shorthanded. This would trigger budget cuts or a government shutdown or, God forbid, actual default of the United States on its debt. And that could really spiral out of control, causing economic downturn, recession, depression, loss of faith in the dollar, hyperinflation, gnashing of teeth, pulling of hair, crying of puppies, all that kind of stuff. The point is that the U.S. needs to keep their credit lines flowing. They need to sell bonds. They're addicted to it. It's how they pay for everything. But as Ryan notes, cracks in this market have already appeared. Again, China's been unloading U.S. Treasury since 2014. Saudi Arabia has been showing less interest in U.S. bonds. Okay, just made a deal with China about buying oil, selling oil to them in Chinese yuan. India as well buying less U.S. bonds. And there's the growing list of BRICS nations that are looking to de-dollarize their economies. They don't want U.S. debt. They want to get away from U.S. treasuries and U.S. dollars. So the red lights are already flashing, okay? Now, look, we've been discussing on the channel lately all this stuff. And now we've actually got a former Speaker of the House, a very influential politician in America, saying the same thing. That's interesting. Before we get into Paul Ryan's solution, I want to interrupt the flow real quick to let you know about the best damned newsletter. It is a damn newsletter in the crypto industry. It's called Wealth Master Report. It's my newsletter. My team and I work very hard every single week to bring you this bad boy, the best insights into the market, airdrops, meme coins, altcoins, NFTs, technical analysis, and much, much more. We spend 40 plus hours a week putting this thing together so that you can read it while sitting on the train in the morning or over your morning cup of coffee. Okay, you can join 125,000 plus weekly readers for free. They love it. I'm sure you will too. Link in the description or the pinned comment on X. Thank you very much. Paul Ryan's crypto solution as it relates to U.S. bonds and the debt crisis is stablecoins. Oh, yeah. That's right. Good old stablecoins, one of the killer apps of crypto. Ryan's pitch is that if the U.S. government can help support the stablecoin industry, that it will actually increase demand for stablecoins. Shocking turn of events. That, of course, will in turn increase demand for U.S. treasuries, right? But what's the connection here between stablecoins and U.S. bonds? Well, as you probably know, stablecoins are backed by dollars. 1 USDC equals 1 US dollar. But if we're going to get technical about it, stable coins are really backed by a basket of different reserves, the majority of which are actually US short term treasuries. Okay. Here's Tether's latest reserve report as an example, published at the end of Q1. Tether had $104 billion USDT in circulation, which means they're holding $104 billion of your money. That's shown under total liabilities. Tether lists their USDT as a liability because the company, of course, must be able to provide dollars in exchange for the USDT that they've issued. Okay. As you can see, 84% of that 104 billion was backed by cash or cash equivalents, and 92.9% of those cash or cash equivalents are made up of U.S. Treasury bills. Stablecoin business is a good business, man. Just a quick aside here: reverse purchase agreements are U.S. Treasuries, but in a more exotic form. So, to say it all another way, 81% or 84 billion of the 104 billion in issued USDT is actually backed by US treasuries at the end of Q1 of this year. So that's Tether, okay? The largest stable coin by market cap. But what about crypto's second largest stable coin? Maybe they're different. Maybe there's got a bunch of big pile of cash sitting under somebody's pillow. Well, that's Circle's USDC. It's the same story, guys. At the end of April, Circle had 33 billion in reserves, and 87% or 29 billion of that was made up of US treasuries. Now, remember, those you don't earn any interest on that, by the way. They're earning 5.5% on your USDT. It's good business for them. So once we dig into the details, we realize that stablecoin issuers are actually big players in the US bond market. In fact, and Ryan mentions this in his piece, if all the stablecoin issuers were combined together, it's basically USDT and Circle. But anyway, if they were a country and they're combined together, they would be the 16th largest holder of U.S. treasuries in the world, just behind Singapore. Think about that. That's crazy. And that number keeps going up all the time. So they've got about $145 billion worth of treasuries. So Paul Ryan's pitch, man, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? If the U.S. Congress is able to pass a supportive framework for stablecoins, that would actually boost global demand for dollars and by consequence, boost demand for U.S. treasuries, thus extending the U.S. global dominance of their dollar and their treasury markets potentially by decades. And think about it this way. Let's say the total market cap of crypto does a 3x within the next 2 years. It's not that crazy at all, in my opinion. This is something that I think is very reasonable, even without the U.S. government's help, okay? It's probably going to happen. Well, assuming that the U.S. stablecoin market actually grows proportionally and that stablecoin issuers continue holding about 85% of their reserves in U.S. treasuries, well, then a 3x in crypto's market cap would then essentially mean stablecoin issuers would hold approximately $435 billion in U.S. treasuries, making these issuers the fourth largest holders of Uncle Sam's debt in the world. And that's crazy. So what's the good, the bad, and the ugly about Paul Ryan's proposal here? Got a little bit of everything. From my perspective, first, I do agree with his solution. I've said it before, long before I heard him say it, and I was excited to hear him say it. as I think that it can help the U.S. fend off a debt crisis and even extend dollar dominance globally. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I don't know, but it can. Now, to be fair, Paul Ryan was not the originator of this idea. It's been circulating amongst certain crypto enthusiasts, okay, for quite a while. But the fact that Paul Ryan is talking about it, he's the one of the most high-profile politicians in America. He's out there promoting it. That's pretty big. Second, I don't think we even know the potential demand really for U.S. stablecoins across the globe, because they've been very popular, very, very popular. And if we have an easing of regulations, that might become even more popular than we think. Citizens in many countries want to save in dollars because they see it as being more stable than their local currency. And in many cases it is. But of course, it's very difficult for the average person in many of these nations to actually be able to get access to dollars due to different capital controls and stuff like that. Thus enter stablecoins. Perfect solution. Do you think the governments in Vietnam and Iran and Venezuela and China, they want to make it easy for their citizens to swap their local currencies for dollars? Well, of course they don't. But the great part about crypto, stablecoins run on open permissionless blockchains. So capital controls, they can't stop them. This is why we've seen a huge increase of stablecoin transfers on Tron and Solana and Base and stuff like that. Okay, that's the power of crypto. And building off this point, Ryan's proposal really is an excellent counter to, well, BRICS, and the BRICS currency is coming and all that kind of stuff, and this alternate pole that's challenging the US dollar. If BRICS is going to roll out their CBDC or their gold-backed currency, whatever, well, the US government should pump stablecoins big time across the globe. They should be the #1 promoter of stablecoins globally, because there's a compelling narrative here for US dollar dominance to be increased by stablecoins, especially when we look at, privacy and anti-censorship and all that stuff. There's also interesting use cases. And anyway, despite the benefits, I think it's important to note that stablecoins are not going to save the US dollar from collapse in the long term. They'll just extend things out, buy them a few decades. So US government gets a bit of extra time to get its financial house in order. They probably won't. They'll probably rack it up to 100 trillion. Because that's what they do. But ultimately, the only way the dollar gets saved is by the U.S. government choosing to spend less than its revenues and to stop using the dollar as a weapon internationally, neither of which are probably going to happen. Anyway, maybe the U.S. government will start stacking some Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. That could help out. Maybe get them out of this mess. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.